All right, guys, what's up? It's Jack, and welcome back to another video. And yeah, we made it. We made it, and we're very, very blessed to be okay. I'm very, very lucky to come back to a home that I left pretty much the same. That I came back to a home, and it was just the same as when I left, as where I left it. There you go. That's what I wanted to say. I'm very. I want to give a shout out to, I easily want to start out this video to give a shout out to some very important people. Now, first, I want to start out with the people that have been communicating with me, whether it's on Twitter or on the community tab here on YouTube, because I've been posting a few things here and there on there. And you guys have had nothing but supportive words to say. You guys were, you know, some of you guys were sending prayers my way. Some of you guys were giving me best wishes and stuff like that. Just nothing but absolute support. And of course, vice versa. Shout out to those of you guys that live in my state as well, that have been going through this. Even from the previous hurricane, which was, as the time's recording, was 2 weeks ago, but before it hit, it was less than 2 weeks ago. And it's been really a devastating time for a lot of people. In terms of my experience with this hurricane, basically it goes like this. It wasn't anything like me rescuing anybody or anybody rescuing me. It was basically me deciding to take my special needs family member and to get to a shelter. And it was a very basic story. I went to one shelter, and it wasn't exactly something that was necessarily the best place for my family member. So I tried a second one. And then when I tried the second one, it was a perfect fit. Very accommodating, very hardworking. I actually had to come back home and basically get the family member so that way I can get them there faster before everything filled up to capacity, because the longer you wait, the faster things accumulate, because people make last minute decisions in terms of whether or not they decide to evacuate or not. So actually it's towards like the end of the evacuation process to when like all these different facilities really start, you know, piling on people, because a lot of people are just not they just haven't decided to evacuate just yet. They kind of like wait till the last minute. They hope for the storm to possibly change course or to die down or whatever it is, and they just kind of wait. I decided on the morning of Tuesday that we were going to evacuate, because quite frankly, when you see on the news that a category 1 strengthens to a category 5, especially in the area where it formed within just 8 hours, is really eye-opening to see. And when you got news, the news everywhere basically saying that this is like, we haven't seen a storm like this in like 100 years, I was like, yep, I'm not messing around with this one. Even though we live in a no evac zone to where, you know, we don't have to worry about flooding, I'm like, yep, I'm not risking it. And this is actually my third rodeo. The first time I think we ever evacuated was for Irma. And then after that, I don't remember what the other hurricane was that we evacuated from. But this time we went to a different facility. And because the other facility wasn't even available at that time. I don't know if that changed when we got closer to landfall, but security of the family member that I'm the caregiver for, obviously, is something that had to be priority number one. So, and at the same time, I also took a couple of other things as signs as well. The fact that a drainage, like in between the two storms, the drainage in my apartment complex wasn't working very well. And I thought to myself, holy crap, you know, if we take on as much water as they say, even though we're in a no evac zone, if this drainage thing doesn't work, we could get flooded. So it's like, wasn't going to risk that. I also paid attention to the fact that I decided to invest in a little storage unit a couple of months ago to get some of the junk out of the house. But I didn't want to throw it away, though, because it was stuff that had a lot of memories in there. So I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to get it into a storage unit, you know? So that's basically what I used in terms of getting like all the equipment that I make YouTube on, because it took like, okay, let's put it this way. Here's an interesting story. When I started doing YouTube almost 10 years ago, I started with a laptop that I got from Walmart and the old school HD capture card, not the HD60, but the HD capture card. And that had no business working at all, but somehow it did, right? I was somehow able to record footage. So then I upgraded to the HD60. And then when that laptop went to hell, a few years later, I ended up getting another one, but it was still a cheap one. And I didn't know anything about computers and laptops and stuff like that, and specs and what I really would need and everything like that. But I knew what I needed in order to do things, right? It was just, all my equipment was a $50 microphone, which was the Snowball, by the way. And then a $400 Walmart laptop, the Elgato HD capture card. And that's basically how it started. And you know, an editing software online that, you know, that was free. I still use a free editor. It's DaVinci Resolve, but back then I wasn't using DaVinci Resolve. I didn't know about it. I didn't even know if it existed back then either. I was using something else, some other very cheap, very free editing software. And basically over the years, I've accumulated and gotten more equipment, you know, whether it was monitors, my friend's PC that I bought off of him about 4.5 years ago or so for a reasonable price. And then a little over 2 years ago, I ended up getting the PC that is my main source of content creation that I have now. So in order to get all this equipment that I've accumulated for gaming and, you know, content creation purposes, it took a while. Like when you look at where I was 10 years ago when I started doing this YouTube thing, only with a Walmart laptop and Elgato HD60, to, you know, the blue Snowball microphone, and then now I've got a different microphone, and then I've got all this other equipment. You're talking about like a major difference, but it took years to get there. So I was like, okay, I'm moving all this stuff into the storage facility that just also happens to be on the second floor. So it's like, hey, at least we can guarantee safety for that. So I ended up doing that as well as a couple of other things, and then just came back, you know, transported the family member over to the storage, not the storage, excuse me, to the shelter. And then after that came back to secure a few other things around the house as best as possible. And, you know, took care of the circuit breakers and stuff like that. And then I left. And I was there about Wednesday morning at 1 a.m. And then it was about 30 to 32 hours later or so when we would leave the facility. And the people at the facility, and again, this was, you know, the specific part of the facility that we were at was dedicated to people that are special needs people, whether it's physical or mental. My family member is mostly just a physical special needs person. So there were nurses on standby. There were plenty of staff. There was like, you know, in a situation like this, everything that you could possibly need was available. Which is a big shout out to those guys. Though every single staff member, you know, endured so much, and we're talking about like the people that they had to deal with, you know, because we were relatively simple. Plus I was around, so I was always there when needed. Obviously, for the family member, I was like literally right there. So, but I saw what they endured with some other people, physically and mentally handicapped people, and I was like, whoa. And, you know, whenever I struggle sometimes, it's like, man, these mentally handicapped people, that is a whole other category of difficulty, man. And shout out to anybody that takes care of people that are mentally handicapped in any way, shape, or form, whether you're a caregiver for a family member like me, but, you know, takes care of the mental side of things as opposed to the physical. Shout out to you guys, man. It's like, oh, man, that is a whole other challenge after that. And obviously, I saw other people that were just like me, except that a lot of them were older. I was significantly younger than other people. Usually you see fellow spouses or something like that take care of their family member that is, you know, not doing so well physically. So you see a lot of that. But for the most part, like everything that any one of these people could possibly need was there if they needed it. You know what I mean? And everybody that was on staff did an absolutely amazing job, and they endured quite a bit. And then, of course, you've got the fact that you've got this natural disaster going on, and everybody, like including myself, was thinking, man, I hope a tornado does not take away my home. I hope flooding doesn't happen. I hope the drainage works properly the way it should. I hope a tree doesn't fall on my car, even though I parked the car in an area to where that would not happen. Because we actually had over 30 tornadoes touch down in across Florida during the storm, and over 120 or 130 warnings of tornadoes, you know? So when you think about that number, it's like, holy crap. And I remember I was talking to a staff member over at, you know, at the facility, at the shelter. And they said that there was like one area specifically that had like 6 tornadoes touch down within a certain radius of an area. And I'm like, holy hell, man. I mean, it just goes to show you. Like, actually, I saw some of the footage of the tornadoes, and it almost looked like you were in Tornado Alley. It looked like you were in Kansas because of how those supercells looked and how the tornadoes looked. And I've seen a lot of tornadoes in my time because when I was younger, I was actually fascinated with tornadoes quite a bit. The biggest influence came from the original movie Twister. I like the new movie Twisters. I like it quite a bit, but I don't like it as much as the original. The original, in my opinion, is the superior one of the two. Granted, I could be a little bit biased, but to me, I mean, there were also two different movies from a tone standpoint. But there were definitely callbacks to that one as well. But anyway, maybe that's another discussion for another day. But yeah, doing all these things just makes you realize that, holy crap, man, you really are at the mercy of Mother Nature. I've got coworkers and friends that have lost businesses, and that is plural with an S. Houses, cars, all that is plural. They've lost all that. Like, people have, including people that I don't even know, that have worked really hard to get a house or get a business or something like that to make a better life for themselves and to enjoy life a little bit more. And they've worked hard at it, you know, especially back in the day from years ago, to where you could actually work your ass off and actually obtain all those things. You know, lately with this economy, that's a whole hell of a lot harder to do. But you know, you hear about the stories of these people that have worked really hard to get these things, and then all of a sudden with something like this, it's gone, and it's heartbreaking. And you see what it does to people. You see how sad they are. You look at the look on their faces, and it's like all that hard work that they put in for all those years, you know, just all that went to nothing, you know, and it's terrible. And it's really sad to see. And the plan going forward is to pump out videos, get the streams going eventually. I'm just waiting on internet. As of the time of this recording at this point, I'm just waiting on internet, and I'm waiting for my AC to get repaired, because even though I've got electricity, my AC just decides not to work. And a couple of other things are not working like they did when I left. But yeah. So yeah, those are the plans for now. I tip my hat to all the other caregivers out there, to the first responders, to the medical staff and everything like that. You guys are badasses. Thank you for doing what you do. And to anybody who's watching this video that does something of that nature, thank you. And thank you for taking the time to watch and or listen. And I'll catch you guys on the next one.